Over.
Yep, and our motto is White Canes, camera action, guide dog too.
Just tell me when, Ben.
And we're ready.
Okay. Hello, I'm Suzanne Susana. I live in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and we are here in the home of attorney Kevin McNally in Marlborough and the very talented founder of the Blind Can Film Festival, Ben Fox, is behind the camera. And we are sharing conversation this morning about RP and blindness. We each share this condition and it manifests itself in a variety of ways. So we're going to be chatting about that and how we live a dynamic life even with vision loss.
Excellent. So I was hoping that we could each take a moment and explain what our vision is like. And starting with you, Suzanne.
Well, so my vision has been gradually, I liken it to visual people, similar to erasing a chalkboard. Started when I was 11 years old, and bit by bit through my lifetime, just a little more vision would be erased. I have lost central vision first, and peripheral vision is how I have navigated my life. So people who've known me have observed that I might be looking away from them to see them. And sometimes it has been very confusing for people. But I kind of used my eyes in a convoluted way to use my peripheral vision to actually see what it was that I was trying to see. So it's been a gradual process through my life. Now, if I'm in a familiar area, I can just fly because I have just little bits of peripheral vision that allow me to function very effectively in a very familiar area. But if I'm in an unfamiliar area, I'm completely unsafe without an assistant or a guide or my wonderful guide dog, Oliver, because I literally have no real functional vision.
Thank you. Attorney McNally?
You bet. It's amazing how different vision loss is for everybody. And that's one of my messages when I'm out there talking to people. You know, it manifests differently for everyone. Now, I have retinitis pigmentosa, although much of my life, doctors were calling it various different things, but it is RP. And mine is sort of, sounds like the reverse of what Suzanne has here. I have what people think of as tunnel vision, and it's a cave. And this tunnel vision, there's like a baseline loss of vision, but that can be worse or some kind of better depending on the lighting, of course. You know, in bright sunlight, though, that's a problem too, because then it's just washed out of it without good sunglasses or something. But the tunnel vision, when I try to describe it to somebody, or if I have some visual aids that help people kind of try to get an idea of what it's like, I would say it's, well, I know the degrees. It's 8 degrees in my left eye and 9 degrees in my right eye. The human, a normally sighted human has something like 150 or 170 visual field. So very tight. And I would say it's probably smaller than a toilet paper roll. Is one way to look at it. Not as small as a straw that you might drink through. But the brain, you know, we see with our brain, we don't see with our eyes.
Right.
And the brain is amazing because as I scan and look around, it builds a picture for me. Now, if I don't scan and I just stare at something or someone, it all caves in. And all this is dependent upon the light too. If it's low light, and low light to me is pretty much anything other than bright sun. But low light to me, it caves in very quickly. And my area of loss is very prominent. And it's the other way, you know, the old term people say a lot is I have the donut. Right? You have the donut in your vision. And in the center, you can see, this is a donut. It's missing the middle.
Right.
You can see in the middle. And then there's the donut where you can't see. And it's not perfect. The edges aren't perfect. And then at the very, very edges of my visual field, I have some peripheral vision. So some very, very edge, at the very end. And so sometimes I'll catch something there. Maybe maybe a dog, you know, like, you know, that I didn't know was there because it's fallen into the main donut until the very last second.
Right.
So mine is tunnel vision, but again, the human brain is so impressive how it builds the image as you scan. So I do a lot of scanning and kind of visually checking where everything is, who's moved. And you definitely learn a lot of tips and tricks when you're interacting with people, how to try to at least limit the embarrassing situations that can happen.
Right.
But so it's kind of the reverse. I can see in the very middle, and I am blessed. I am thankful every day because at a minimum I can correct to relatively almost 20/20, 20/30 my center vision. And being a lawyer, I read a lot. And with the help of some magnification, depends on the documents, I can still read, which is really important in my job. But I am losing 2 to 3% of my remaining vision per year. And, we don't know if that'll pick up as I get older. It probably will. But so of the remaining vision, which is probably 85% plus less than a normally sighted person, that remaining part is going away.
Right.
At about 3% a year.
Yeah.
That's my vision.
No, thank you for sharing that, Kevin. When did your vision loss start manifesting itself?
So the story in my family is when my parents had, got married, and this is in the mid-'60s, and started a family. They had their first son, Bob, who I work for, actually. And Bob, no eye disease, everything's fine. 10 and a half months later, they had Christopher. And that's my middle brother. And of course, I'm not here yet, so Christopher is here. And it all comes down to a cup of water. This is how at least the eye disease was figured out, that something was not right. And my mom would come in to give Chris his cup of water before he went to bed as a little boy. And he wouldn't reach for it the way Bob would, because Bob could see it. And of course, this is nighttime and it was dark. It was dark, so it's worse. And so she knew something was wrong. Long story short, now that's a long time ago, the mid to late 60s, but it's a lot different now. But my mom really advocated, and they started to figure out that something was wrong with Chris's eyes. And so when I came onto the scene a few years later, three or so years later, at that point they had already been checking Chris, and they checked me and everyone else, and we knew right off the bat. I think originally they went to a retina doctor in New York. I have no memory of that, but we started with Mass Eye and Ear in the very, very early 70s, 1971. So I was 2 years old, and but early on, when I was a young kid, I did all the games outside. I played Ghost in the Graveyard and kicked the can, and I would trip over bushes, and occasionally, I had to know where the trees were, and things like that. But it didn't limit my life too much. Of course, like we all know, when you turn 16, driving, I drove during the day, but I never drove at night. So proms or this and that, I had to have my parents drive me, or the date, and so I made a go of it. I think it's what we all do. We make a go of it, no matter where we are with our vision loss.
Right.
You just have to keep going.
Yes.
And again, blessed because I had employers that understood. After you explain it, at that time I couldn't drive. I had to be before sunset, and I was able to do that. And now, of course, with working from home, that's is a great upside. It has its challenges, but it's a huge upside.
Yes.
And the technology.
Yes.
The assistive technology is amazing. Computers are amazing, and so it's great. It's definitely manifested early on, but I don't feel like physically it had that much of an impact other than nighttime.
Right.
It was always a nighttime problem for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And did your vision loss happen in noticeable increments where all of a sudden one day there was just less vision?
No, it's much more progressive. It's just until I got into my 40s, I would say, I felt relatively stable. And looking at the data, it kind of was relatively stable. And so then when I got into my 40s, I started to feel like it was declining quicker, and I think it was. And it picked up later in my 40s, and now I'm 53. It definitely progressive. I'm such an ultimate optimist, and I try to forget all the negative stuff and bad stuff, because it has no use. The history of the bad times or stressful times at this. So it's hard for me to actually recall probably accurately if when I was 27, maybe I really did feel like it was changing at that time. I don't have memory of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a great success strategy, is to just focus only on the positive and power forward.
Right.
Right.
It's definitely one of my just driving forces and messages, is that I really do try to focus on here and now. And you, as we all know, you can't change the past, and you can't do anything about the future.
Right.
And so I try. It's not easy. And actually, it's kind of getting harder, but I try my hardest to stay present. And I think you can be happy if you do that.
Exactly.
Happier at least.
Yes.
It's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. Just even normally sighted people. It's just to stay focused. But it's what we have, and right now is important.
Right. Yeah. I love that outlook.
My wife and I, we laugh, because sometimes I feel it kind of affects my memory. And I also have a theory on memory loss and vision loss. I believe there's a correlation there. But I focus so much on today that I have trouble sometimes remembering, just not too long ago, because I let it go. It's gone, even, good stuff, until I'm reminded. And then, of course, I remember it. But I just really want to focus on right now.
Right. Yeah. No, there's great value in that. And even for people who have vision, and vision loss isn't their issue, there's a valuable takeaway there on how to move through, because everyone does have some kind of challenge.
Yes.
And life is incredibly hard at times, and for some people, and so
absolutely
to have that positivity to power forward regardless is of great value.
And everyone obviously leads their own life, and I really, when you strip it all away, I really just feel blessed. I'm thankful. Sometimes people ask me, if you could wave a wand and never be born with this eye disease, would you? And I'm not so sure I would.
Yes.
Because I think I would have been a different person.
Yes.
And from what I'm told, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I think I'm a decent human being.
Yes.
I do, like you, would do a lot of volunteer work, and I stay active in that, and I like that. And the vision loss, I've written about it, the vision loss has helped me stay present. As weird as that sounds, I'm not so sure I would change it. I've been able to still do almost everything that I wanted to. I have traveled to Africa 5 times. I'm now a scuba diver. I've been in rock bands since 1995. I'm still in a band.
Are you?
Oh yeah, still in a band. Just played last weekend in Avon. I mean, so it takes, as you know, we all need help. It takes people to understand. I use a lot of flashlights and things to help me set up, and I have to do some things that others might, not want to do. They might feel embarrassed, but I have to do it. And if I want to do what I want to do, I have to adjust.
Right.
And so I really, it's been a blessed life in many ways.
Yeah. I do really get that, and I want to ask the name of your band and the type of music that you play. That's so cool.
I know. So I was in my first band in 1995 when I moved to Florida for a couple of years. And I met some people there. We started a band, and the singer of that band is actually still one of my greatest best friends. He still lives down in Florida. And so over the years, I was in some bands, and I was kind of the rhythm guitarist. And then even in law school, I was in a 5-man acoustic jam, which was fun. It was all to-be lawyers. And so we had a great following, anywhere we played, because all the law school came. So it was great. And then after law school, I wanted to get into more of a rock band and heavier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined a band, still rhythm guitarist. And I did that for like a year and a half. And at that point, I was ready to start my own band.
Mm-hmm.
And had a couple different incarnations. But the name is Hat Trick. Call ourselves Hat Trick.
Uh-huh.
And the name comes from the original band had 3 members. And I was trying to think of something 3. And 2 of the guys, I think, were electricians. So I was saying things like 3rd phase, 3-phase, like things with electrical connotations.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we ended up with Hat Trick. And we played all over Connecticut. I mean, just tons of gigs. West Hartford, I mean, just everywhere. And for almost 14 years. And then when I started my new job, which isn't new anymore, but when I started my new job in 2014, I knew, plus I was getting older, I didn't want to be out till 4:30 in the morning, trying, it was taking its toll.
Right.
But I didn't want to stop playing, so I started doing acoustic, 2-man acoustic groups, and had a few different singers, but the singer I've been with now for years and years, he was in the original rock band too, but we do, your breweries that are so popular in Connecticut, and it's what we call ourselves now is Hat Trick Unplugged, because we're not the big loud rock band with drums, we're just an acoustic guitar and a singer. So we call ourselves Hat Trick Unplugged. And it's great.
That's so cool.
We don't play a lot, maybe,
Yeah.
a couple times a year, maybe a little more than that, but it's nice. Breweries, you play 6 to 9 p.m. or in the afternoon, and it's much more better on the system,
Yeah.
but it's great. Yeah, music, playing music is one of my absolute greatest pleasures. Yeah.
Oh, that is so fun,
Yeah.
and I'd love to come see you perform.
I would love that.
My daughter just got married, and we're planning a little. So she and her husband met through my BNI group. I've been in my BNI group with him for 5 years.
Yeah.
So we have met on a Tuesday morning at 7 a.m.
Oh my
for
gosh.
approximately 250 times.
Wow. Yeah.
And we were great friends. They met each other, off and on through the years. But just a little over a year ago, something shifted, and now they're married.
Wonderful.
And so I want to bring our group together for a social evening to kind of celebrate. And it would be really fun to have you play.
Oh, yeah, we could definitely talk about that. Yeah, my
Yeah.
singer lives in West Hartford, so it's very convenient.
Yeah.
And it really is fun. I'm always playing guitar every day. I have my office alone, and there's like 4 different guitars in there. In the summer, which is my favorite time, I'm a summer person. I'm either every night. I'm usually, if it's nice out, sitting on my front steps and just playing guitar. I know all the neighbors; they all wave. Sometimes they stop walking their dogs and just listen for a while.
Oh, I would too. Will you be my neighbor?
Sure. I just front step, strumming, and it's nice. People beep and honk, and they're probably like, "There's that guy again out there playing guitar," but.
Well,
It's cathartic, it's cathartic.
I really respect your time, and I don't know how much you have, but do you have time to grab a guitar and play a tune for us?
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm prepared to do that right this second.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But we could definitely do something, and Hat Trick does have a webpage. I'm trying to think what it is. Hat Trick. We're on Facebook. Hat Trick CT, I think it is, like Facebook.com/Hat Trick CT for Connecticut. And there are some videos up there of us playing. And but another time for sure.
No, that's so fun.
Yeah.
And
My voice is rusty. Plus, I don't do most of the singing, although I am doing more and more of the singing slowly, so which is fun. It's a whole other battle,
Oh, I think that's awesome.
It's
Yeah,
it's a good time.
it's absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of specific questions
Yes.
if I could ask in the start the